Hello, Tumblr people. Um, so, I gotta ask some questions, and this is actually my second time doing this, because the first time was it was a mess, dude. Hot mess express. Taking that midnight train to Georgia. It's enough of this. So, Unimpressed Viking asks, what line from your favorite book represents the idea that made that novel so important to you? The answer to that is, he gazed up at the enormous face. 40 years it had taken him to learn what kind of smile was hidden beneath the dark mustache. Oh, cruel, needless misunderstanding. Oh, stubborn, self-willed exile from the loving breast. 2 gin-scented tears trickled down the sides of his nose. But it was all right. Everything was all right. The struggle was finished. He had won the victory over himself. He loved Big Brother. It's from 1984, obviously, which, if you've been following me for a while, I've ranted about in the past 1,000 times. I love that line because it puts a twist kind of ending on it, whereby, for the whole book, you've been empathizing with Winston Smith because he represents that rebellious spirit in us all where we know something is wrong with the system that we are forced to live in, but we won't do anything about it, and eventually our spirits get broken, and we give ourselves over to the system. Oh, I love you, Big Brother, you know, and that's, in one kind of paragraph that closes the entire book. That's the last paragraph of the book. Everything is summarized and kind of laid to waste, because the whole time you've been rooting for this guy, you know? And he lost. So, there you have it. Are there any food items that are reminiscent of a happy memory? If so, what are they, and what memory are they linked to? There are 2 different dishes involved in this. The first is bacon-flavored super noodles, and they must be bacon-flavored, and they must be super noodles. It's a British thing. And you couple those with chicken crispy pancakes. Yes, son. And that doesn't represent a specific memory or anything. It's more of my entire childhood. And the second dish is totally fresh shrimp. And we're talking like just caught. And that is related to a specific memory where me and my dad were down at the Barbican, which is an old pirate town, which is on the southernmost part of the coast where Plymouth is. And there's this bar that's out on a dock. And there was a fisherman that had had a particularly good catch that day, and me and my dad were at the bar, and he was getting a beer or whatever. And me, him, and this fisherman were like the only people there, because it was like lunchtime or something during the week. So he had this huge bucket filled with shrimp, and he wasn't going to be able to sell them the next day because they would have gone bad by then. So he invited us to eat them with him. And we sat there and picked fresh shrimp out of this bucket, shelled them, and ate them. And it was an amazing day. And we sat there all day with this fisherman talking sea stuff and watched the sun go down. And it was just a happy memory with my dad. Have you ever wanted to change anything about your personality that was totally irrational? My irrational fear of people, dude. I am so socially awkward. There is cute socially awkward, and then there is me. And I'm like, bah, meh, like Nosferatu, fucking socially awkward. Meh, fucking, it's not good. And so, like, on the internet, I can present myself pretty well and sell myself and all of that. But in person, I'm so sweaty-palmed fucking terror at having to talk to somebody that I don't I mean, I was like practically an agoraphobe till I was 17. I never left my house. I was just scared shitless of people. Lived up here too much. Okay. If you could be any video game character, who would you be and why? Now, on the first time I tried to make this video, I spent about 5 minutes going, so that's why I had to shorten it. It would be Shadow Man, because Shadow Man was a fucking boss. He was, like, fucking New Orleans pimp by day, and, you know, voodoo badass guy by night, and had a gun made of bones that shot fucking souls out of it. Badass! And there was a bit of bastardization, there we go, of voodoo culture in that game and in that comic book that it was based on, but it was fucking rad anyway. I really enjoyed it. It was a cross between that and maybe Harry Mason from the first Silent Hill game, because that game changed my life. What first spurred you to make such wizard music? The Force. Ding dong. No, actually, I don't know. That's a really good question. I don't think there was ever a specific event or time or anything like that. I've made music since I was a kid. My mom started me with piano lessons when I was 5 because I was just a noisy little kid. Anything that made noise I was all about, and I had all kinds of toys that made different noises and stuff, and I had a little cheap air powered organ, and so one thing just kind of followed the other, and I was always really into big, thematic, bold, crazy music that, you know, painted pictures in your head, and not just something you could sing along to, but something that took you somewhere else. I was, you know, even now I'm still more into scores and stuff like that than I am pop music, you know, because I like to go, in fact right now I'm listening to a fucking cheesy ass score, but it's badass. Like, I don't know. I think there was a clear turning point when I turned 13, though, away from, like, classical music and score-type music, purely instrumental stuff, more into song forms, and it's all thanks to Trent Reznor and Marilyn Manson. I was a huge goth kid, like, back in the day, and I know that those guys aren't exactly goth, but, you know, if you were into them, you were considered a goth at the time, because people didn't fucking know what goth meant. So, when I first got the Downward Spiral, when I was 13, and in fact, the first time I saw the Closer video, and like I posted before, the first time I saw Manson do The Beautiful People on the 97 VMAs, it was like, that's what I want to do. That's the kind of music I want to make. And even though I sound nothing like Manson, the music I make sounds nothing like that, you can still hear Trent's influence fucking all over the place. Like, I wish I could get away from it, but there's just no hope. That would be like taking the blues out of Led Zeppelin. You can't separate the two. It's just everything he's done, even down to the way he handles business, I find inspirational. So, yeah. And Peter Gabriel, he's a wizard. He goes like this. Magic. So, that was all your questions, and I hope that I answered them properly. Good night.